Well, we know the restaurant industry has taken a pretty big hit by the pandemic, but now a new survey shows that 85% of independent restaurants may close by the end of the year. Here is the buzz. Since independent restaurants rely on dine-in revenue, most of them don't have a safety net or support system to fall back on. Restaurant owners say it will be a long time before revenue will return to pre-pandemic levels, meaning that they're going to be forced to operate at a loss. The Independent Restaurant Coalition is pushing for a $120 billion grant for independent restaurants. Also trending as stay-at-home restrictions are starting to ease a bit, hotels are planning big changes to their architecture and design. Check this out. Many designers say hotels are now looking to implement touchless systems when guests check in and conference rooms that open up to the outdoors. Now here's something that's really interesting. Experts say hotel gyms will likely become a thing of the past. Some predict gym equipment will be ordered to private rooms like room service. Now that will be something to see in the near future. And your last trending story, Brooklyn, New York is now the latest city to add a Black Lives Matter mural to its streets. Check this out. An unveiling ceremony was held Sunday. The new mural stretches several blocks and it took about a day to complete. Almost 24 Brooklyn-based artists came together to make it happen. Many people, as you can see, stopping by to take photos and to celebrate the new artwork.